Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend that she technically stole from me when she went grocery shopping using my credit card while I was asleep? Am I the a-hole for not revealing my financial liabilities to my wife? Am I the a-hole for getting upset at my father-in-law for giving my baby food poisoning? Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend that she technically stole from me when she went grocery shopping using my credit card while I was asleep? Here's the situation. I, male 27, have been with my girlfriend, female 24, for 7 months. We don't live together and she has sleepovers at my place regularly. 2 days ago, she spent the night at my place, and in the morning while I was sleeping, if she got up, got dressed, took my credit card and went grocery shopping with it. I woke up to a massive breakfast made by her as a surprise, and when I asked how she got money and time to prepare all that, she told me she took my credit card while I was asleep and headed to the supermarket to get the stuff that she needed to make me a surprise breakfast. I was stunned. I asked why she didn't ask before taking my credit card, and she said I was sleeping and she didn't want to bother me, besides that she wanted this to be a surprise. I just stared and said, I don't know. You do realize you technically stole from me when you took my credit card and went shopping with it without my consent, right? She looked at me in complete shock and confusion and said that she was just trying to do something nice for me, and I just implied that she was a thief. I just shrugged and said it was technically true. She was so upset and she got out and stormed out the kitchen crying. She collected her stuff and left after she said she spent time and effort to prepare me breakfast, and I was out of line to say she stole from me just because she forgot her wallet at home. She kept hanging up when I tried calling her, and later sent me money for the stuff she bought, although she didn't take anything with her. My sister came over, and when I told her, she called me an ungrateful jerk with no manners to react this way after this display of affection by my girlfriend. She suggested I get over myself and apologize as soon as possible, but I decided to take my time. Am I the a-hole?
Yes, she should have taken your CC without your knowledge, no matter what the reason. Her intentions were sweet, but if she didn't have the money to do it, she cold waited till another time, since you said she sleeps over often. You on the other hand cold brought this up a lot better without throwing on the thief bit. Approach to boundaries and how you start those conversations are very important. You had no consideration for how she felt or her intentions, and that's an asshole move. Learn to communicate without hurting people's feelings unnecessarily. Edit. What's with the hyphen between credit card? Weird. Okay, so it's not cool to use someone's card without permission, and definitely needed to be addressed, but it was mentioned she forgot her wallet. We don't know how far away she lives from op. Maybe it was way more inconvenient to go home and get her wallet than just borrow his. We also do not know their relationship. Have you guys bought things for each other before? Have you given her your card to order takeout before? Had this boundary ever been addressed? If you've gone out and bought breakfast and groceries for you two before with your credit card, maybe she thought it was okay now. How much do y'all think breakfast groceries cost? Is it really appropriate to cry thief and suggest a breakup over, what, $20 $30? Again, not saying it's okay to take someone's credit card without asking, and yes, 100% needed to be addressed. I just feel like saying red flag and calling her a thief and villainizing her is a bit much with the little info we have. Info? What is your communication like? Have you ever let her know that something like this is a hard boundary for you? Before you brought up this argument of thief, did she mention paying you back when she got her wallet? Basically, I read that after staying the night with you, she got up early, went to buy groceries for your place with your money, and then made you a meal, all before you got up. Then she paid you back for your groceries that you are presumably keeping and using. So you got free groceries and a home-cooked meal from a woman who obviously likes you a lot. I get that you've only been together for 7 months, but what is more important is how your relationship is, not how long you've been together. Regardless of the info, I do feel like you're a bit the a-hole for how you handled it. There are better ways to communicate discomfort than to accuse her of a crime. The she shouldn't have taken the card without his consent or stormed out, but if he actually cares about this girl he shouldn't have reinforced a technically theft comment, saying it once was enough. What he should have done is thanked her for the effort of going out to get the breakfast items and putting it together, but that he'd prefer if she asked him before taking anything belonging to him in the future. At 7 months and this is not a brand new relationship. She did something nice for you without thinking it through fully and ended up being told she's a thief. No relationship will work if you decide to take your time about things when you know someone you are supposed to care about is distressed. From the way you've written this, you don't seem that bothered about the act itself to me, you just want to be right. The communication is the most important part of a successful relationship, and neither of you really communicated in a way that took the other intentions and the full set of circumstances into account. Yes, she took your credit card and used it to buy you food and put effort into making you breakfast. Sure, maybe technically that's stealing, but I would let my GF make me breakfast any day of the week and not be a dick about it. A simple thank you for the intention and for making me breakfast, but please don't take my card without asking in the future would have sufficed. She is the least assholeish here, but she shouldn't have crossed that boundary and probably should have tried again a different time when she did have her wallet or ordered delivery through her phone or Apple Pay or something if she didn't have her wallet, but she was buying groceries for you and she paid you back, so obviously she didn't intend to steal from you, and in my book that doesn't make her a thief, so you shouldn't have called her one. Think about if you care about this relationship more than your stupid pride and apologize if so, otherwise you guys should just break up. Also, it's a pretty broke boy move to make a big deal about something as simple as buying groceries for you like this.
Am I the a-hole for not revealing my financial liabilities to my wife? I run a successful business, but I never discuss my finances and business with anybody. I've always been that way right from the beginning. I just don't like to mix work with family and friends. So when wife and I were dating, neither of us brought up that topic, and she wasn't interested anyway. After we got married, she concentrated on raising our children and nothing else. I take full responsibilities of our household finances, so she leaves that work to me. Now my business has some liabilities to a tune of low 8 figures. Regular payments are being made on time to clear the debt, plus assets are greater than liabilities, so there is nothing to worry about. Last week, I sold one of my old vacant property to clear a bit of business debt, and I informed my wife the same before doing so. She then casually asked me how much debt we are in, and I told her that she doesn't need to know because that's not her responsibility. But she was adamant that she needed to know. She feared that I was hiding things from her. I told her that she doesn't need to worry about our finances as long as I'm putting food on the table, and she freaked the fuck out and started to cry. This is the reason I don't mix work with family. She calls me an a-hole for putting our family in jeopardy.
What a fucking idiot. The don't mix work, money and family wisdom refers to not hiring family members or lending money or otherwise, not literally never telling anyone in your family about what's happening in the business. Jesus fucking. My understanding is that a certain amount of revolving debt is a sound business strategy. As long as the interest rates are low enough and the debt is getting serviced from revenues, it's a more efficient use of funds than just sitting on savings or whatever. But carrying tens of millions of dollars of revolving debt seems like a lot of money for what must be a small, privately owned business. This guy's doing, presumably, 8 or 9 figures worth of revenues, but doesn't have a board overseeing him or a controller handling the day-to-day. It's just him, and apparently now his wife. It doesn't seem possible to me that a business could be $8 million in debt without a huge chunk of that involving the IRS. Those people will dig a hole right next to the one you're buried in to attempt to rob your casket. This woman would be wise to hire an attorney and forensic accounting firm just to be sure she isn't somehow liable for any of this. I think this is made up, but nobody in a marriage should turn a blind eye to the finances, ever. Just seen a couple of situations in real life where that went very, very badly. It's both people's responsibilities. Even if the other person maybe runs point, both people should know whether they are in debt, doing okay or doing well, because both people will need to make choices about spending. So, let me guess. This troll was inspired by either Tom Girardi or the McBroom family. I'd bet on the McBrooms, only BC of the debt amount, they're similar.
Am I the a-hole for getting upset at my father-in-law for giving my baby food poisoning? Backstory: We just had breakfast. 8 hours away from home, we were on a family vacation for his daughter's, my sister-in-law's wedding. We were getting ready to take my Phil to his daughter's to house sit while she went on her honeymoon. Phil is in the back seat with the baby. Decides to grab a bottle of the floor of my car and give it to the baby. He did not ask me or the father if the baby could have it. She wasn't crying or acting hungry as she had just eaten pancakes, hash browns, fruit, like a lot of food for breakfast. I don't hear her, so I think she's gone to sleep as she normally does in the car as soon as we hit highway speeds. The second we drop Phil off, I hear the sucking of a now empty bottle. Ask where she got the bottle. Turns out Phil gave it to her. Duh. So it was then a waiting game of when was my kid, who isn't even a year old yet, was going to become a puke fountain. Sure enough, a couple of hours later, it happened. Everywhere. Copious amounts of it. In the car, in LA. On the way to the Bay Area. I sent him a message because if I were to have called him, I would have cussed him out. I told him, when it comes to food or drinks my kid needs to ingest, please ask before you decide to give it to her. Now she has food poisoning because you simply did not ask. This is not the first time we have told you to not just give her something you find because sometimes we do not know how fresh it is. So please don't feed her without asking any more. Now my hubs and his mother think that was too mean to tell him that he gave my 10-year-old baby food poisoning, and everyone is mad at me. If it had been my parents that had done that, my partner would never let them live that down. And I am just expected to get over it, get over him giving my 10-year-old baby food poisoning. So please tell me, am I the a-hole?
It's a parent in the comments who has never been a parent been close to someone who was a parent. Milk can spoil in hours. You are NTA for a bottle of milk that could have potentially rolled out of a diaper bag onto the floor under a seat etc. Especially during an 8-hour or so car ride. Even if it had been under the seat for a few days, you're not an asshole. People don't realize that when you have a baby you have tons of binkies, baby bottles etc. It's so impossibly easy to lose track of something every now and then. That isn't negligence. Jesus Christ. Don't give random shit to a baby without asking, it's a simple concept. I'm like righteously mad on OP's behalf on all of these comments saying ESH or YTA. I've been fielding these comments, but I'm just gonna copy paste my detailed response. Generally speaking, OP has been telling her FIL to butt out of trying to feed her baby. He's not allowed to spend time one-on-one with her, and him even being in the car was a favor to him. FIL is firmly TA because she's told him time and time again to not feed her baby without asking, I'm assuming specifically because he doesn't check if it's safe to consume or not. That bottle could have been fresh 4 hours before or a day before and I still wouldn't consider OPTA because accidents happen and I'm certain she would have checked the bottle to make sure its contents were good if she knew it was there. Don't act like it's impossible for something to roll under the seat out of view when buckling the baby in. NTA. I would go no contact for this or at the very least no unsupervised visits. He not only just found a bottle and gave it to a not hungry baby, which would be overfeeding which can cause health issues on its own, but he didn't know how old the bottle was and gave the little one food poisoning which is very dangerous at that age. Food poisoning can end up lasting for months, losing weight and hospitalization. Which if happens multiple times can end up with a CPS visit. This is more serious than even you seem to think. Do not forgive and do not forget because if he doesn't know about food safety or doesn't care it can get much worse. You have to protect that baby. NTA I think some of the commenters didn't read the part about you guys being on an 8-hour road trip. They may also not understand that formula goes bad 2 hours after being made and breast milk is 1 hour after being de-thawed or out of the fridge. I would have lost my ever-loving crap on FIL, especially since this is not the first time he has fed something to the baby without asking you guys. I'm not sure what's going on in your husband's head, but his father's feelings being hurt shouldn't compare to your baby projectile vomiting for hours over something completely preventable. I'm really sorry OP. I would sit down and have a talk with your husband and then both of you with you FIL together. Let him know that if he can't respect you guys as parents, he can't be alone with the baby even in the back seat of a car. NTA I'm literally cackling at all the coolest people saying ESH people you shouldn't have left a bottle on the floor of a car. As if you purposely did that and as if a baby would be crawling on the floor of a moving car. Kids love chucking shit and while your car is packed with things during a road trip things get lost. The kid was in the car seat. There is absolutely no way they would have grabbed it themselves and drank it on their own if it wasn't for the FIL formula, and breast milk go bad very quickly, and even if you have never had a child, it is common sense not to drink milk that has been sitting in the car for who knows how long. He has no excuse, especially considering that you've already had to tell him before to ask before feeding your child things. Your kid could have gotten deathly sick. I think he got off easy by receiving a mean text. NTA. You should never feed someone else's child without the parent's permission. And you do have to be very careful about timing and safe storage of breast milk and formula. For those being critical about a bottle of milk being left on the floor of the car, I think you'd have a hard time finding a parent who hasn't had that happen on multiple occasions, especially when traveling. I'm a pretty organized person and keep my car very clean, and I've had this happen multiple times. I also think it's good to be stern with Phil, so he thinks twice about this in the future. You don't want him to end up giving your baby something they could be allergic to, or something they could choke on due to not running it by the parents first. NTA. It is not mean to tell your FIL that his grandchild is suffering health consequences as a direct result of his actions. It is not mean to remind your FIL that this has happened before. It is not mean to set boundaries with your FIL around what he is and is not allowed to do regarding your child's food and or drink, especially considering FIL has made his grandchild sick multiple times. Your text is exactly what I would show as an example of how to respectfully speak to another adult who has caused harm. It is mean for your MIL to side with her husband and prioritize his thoughtlessness over her grandchild's health. It is mean for your husband to prioritize his father's freedom to poison your child over his own child's health. It makes me worry for you, hon, that his parents are held to a lower standard of care for your child than your parents would be. I'm worried that you're being told to get over it when your FIL is establishing a pattern of thoughtlessness and negligence around your daughter. How far does this extend? When does your FIL stop getting a pass to feed your child spoiled food and drink when she's sick 3 times, 6 times, 12 times, when she's hospitalized for 1 day, 3 days, when she suffers permanent damage? Where is the line, exactly, where your husband stops defending his father and starts protecting his daughter? Look, I get that we don't always clean up like we should, it is what it is. That said, your baby is old enough to start grabbing things on their own and will be walking pretty soon if they aren't close to walking already. They're going to get into things, so it's important to not leave things out to spoil. From your post, it seems like it's not the first time that something like this has happened with your FIL. So, if you know he has a tendency to just give your baby whatever he feels like giving her, that's double the reason to not leave mess and spoiled food around. Obviously any adult should know not to give a baby a bottle of milk rolling around on the floor of a car, and if this is a continued problem and he's complaining of being forgetful, then it's definitely time to have a tough conversation with your husband about his dad being evaluated for memory issues like Alzheimer's. That said, help yourselves out too by being proactive and not leaving icky things around where your baby, or people that have proven to be forgetful negligent, can get them. NTA. Your Phil should definitely know better than to give your baby something from the floor and your reaction is normal. Now your husband on the other hand seems to not understand the severity of your Phil dangerous pattern since babies can dehydrate really fast. Does he care more about his Phil hurt feelings than what his baby had to go through? Also, to those saying ZSH and YTA, do you not understand how car rides with babies work? They drop stuff all the time, and it rolls under seats which you can't always reach while driving. Milk formula and breast milk go bad in like 2 hours, not days like some seem to think.